Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today I stand before you with a message of hope, a message of faith, and most importantly, a message of divine assurance. I want you to hear this. This is your sign. God is about to move. This moment right here is not by chance. There is something stirring in the atmosphere, and you may not see it yet, but a shift is happening. A divine movement is on the horizon. It's a powerful season of change. God is preparing to move in ways that you might not even expect, but He's already at work behind the scenes. What you are witnessing in this very moment is not by accident. This is a sign for you. A sign that God is about to move, that your breakthrough is coming, that the waiting is about to come to an end. This is your sign. God is about to move. Many of us are familiar with waiting. We wait for the right job, for healing, for breakthroughs in our families, for answers to our prayers. We wait, often in frustration, feeling like we are being held back, held up, or held in place. We may even begin to question why it's taking so long. But let me remind you, God's timing is always perfect. We may not always understand why we are where we are or why things seem delayed, but God is working everything out in His time. He does not operate according to our schedule. He does not work on our clock. His timing is divine, and it is always right. It is not just a matter of when things happen, but of how and why they happen. His purpose is far greater than our understanding, and His timing is always for our good. Think about the times in your life when you've been waiting for a breakthrough, the times you thought it would never come, or you questioned if it ever would. But when it finally did, didn't it come with an undeniable sense that it was the right time? Maybe it didn't happen the way you expected or when you expected, but it happened in a way that made sense. That is God's timing in action. His ways are not our ways, and His thoughts are not our thoughts, but they are always for our benefit. The sign you're seeing today is an invitation to prepare for what's coming. It's a reminder that even when you can't see it yet, God is moving. The waiting, the uncertainty, it's all a part of His divine plan. And when the breakthrough comes, it will be everything you need and more. We all know what it's like to face challenges, to go through hard times, to wonder if things will ever change. But the challenge you are facing is not the end of your story. It's the prelude to your breakthrough. God is in the midst of it all, even when you can't see Him at work. Just as a seed is buried in the soil before it can sprout and grow, so too are you in a process that is unseen but leading to something glorious. The sign that God is about to move is a reminder that this season of waiting is just a part of the preparation. Your breakthrough is coming, and it will be bigger and better than you ever imagined. Faith is a crucial part of this process. If you are waiting for a move of God, the first thing you need is faith. Faith precedes the miracle. You cannot receive what God has for you if you do not believe it's already on its way. The moment you believe, the moment you trust that God is about to do something extraordinary, is the moment your faith begins to align with His purpose. It's not enough to simply hope for change. You must believe that it is coming and that God is already at work. Your faith is what unlocks the door to the new season. It's what opens the way for the miracle you've been praying for. God has always been a God of promises. He doesn't make promises and then forget them. When He says something will happen, it will happen. When He says He will move on your behalf, He will move. And sometimes the signs He gives us are the most unexpected. We may be waiting for a grand, dramatic change, but God often moves in small, quiet ways. Through a gentle whisper, a slight shift, a new opportunity. These signs are not meant for us to question or try to figure out on our own. They are meant to prepare us. They are meant to open our eyes to what is coming. When God moves, He often does so in ways we don't understand or expect. But these signs are reminders that He is not absent, that He is always working, even when it's not obvious. As you look around at the signs in your life, take a moment to reflect on how God has already moved in the past. You've faced challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt, and yet here you are, standing strong. Your destiny is bigger than your circumstances. Whatever you've faced, whatever challenges have come your way, they are not the end of your story. You are not defined by your present circumstances. Your destiny is defined by God's purpose for you, and His plans are far greater than anything you could imagine. The struggles, the waiting, the pain, they are all temporary. Your destiny, your purpose is eternal, and it's bigger than what you are seeing right now. This sign is a reminder that your future is filled with greatness, and God is positioning you for that greatness. So, prepare yourself. Preparation is key to receiving God's move. It's not enough to simply wait passively for God to move. You must actively prepare for what's coming. Make room in your heart, your mind, and your life for what God is about to do. If you want to receive a bigger blessing, you need to get ready. God will not give you something new if you are not ready to handle it. So take this time to align yourself with His will. Open your heart to the possibilities ahead and trust that when the moment arrives, you will be ready to receive the fullness of His blessing. Remember, God's move in your life may not look like what you expect. God moves in ways you cannot predict. But that is the beauty of His sovereignty. He knows what's best for you. The signs you are receiving today are just the beginning. God is about to move. Trust in His perfect timing, keep the faith, and prepare yourself for the incredible transformation that is coming your way. The essence of every breakthrough in your life starts with one powerful force: faith. It is the key that unlocks the door to God's supernatural intervention. We often look at our circumstances and want to see change before we believe it's possible. But in God's economy, it works the other way around. Faith precedes the miracle. Your faith is the first step toward the transformation you seek. Before you can experience God's miracle in your life, you must first believe that He is already at work, even if you can't see the results yet. Faith is not about waiting for the evidence to appear. It is about trusting that even when nothing is visible, God is moving on your behalf. When you place your trust in Him, you are positioning yourself for the miracle that He is about to deliver. God is always at work, even when the circumstances don't seem to reflect it. Faith is the ability to believe that He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything according to His divine plan. And in order for that miracle to come to fruition, you must activate your faith. Think about the times in your life when you faced challenges or setbacks. You probably didn't know how you were going to get through them, but something inside you kept telling you to hold on, to believe, to trust that God had a way. That inner knowing, that quiet confidence is your faith. It's the belief that God is always working, that He will show up at the perfect moment, and that His plan for your life is better than anything you could imagine. You see, faith is not passive, it is active. It does not sit idly by and wait for a change to happen. Faith steps out, even in the face of uncertainty. It says, I may not know how, but I know who is in control. It is your belief in God's power, provision, and love that enables you to walk forward, even when everything around you seems uncertain. When you activate your faith, you are inviting God to work in your life. You are giving Him permission to move, to shift, to change what needs to be changed. But here's the truth. Faith doesn't always make sense to our natural minds. Often, God will ask us to step out in faith without a clear understanding of the outcome. He will call us to trust Him even when we cannot see the path ahead. That's where faith becomes powerful. It's the ability to believe that what God has already promised will come to pass, even when it looks impossible. Your faith positions you to receive what God has already prepared for you. Let me take you to a story that illustrates this principle. In the Bible, there's the account of the woman with the issue of blood. For 12 years she had suffered and no doctor could heal her, but she heard about Jesus and believed that if she could just touch the hem of His garment, she would be healed. Her faith was the catalyst for her healing. She didn't wait for Jesus to call her out or ask her what she needed. She knew that her miracle was in her faith. Her faith was the key that unlocked her healing. This woman didn't need a special invitation from Jesus. She didn't need to have an elaborate prayer session. She didn't even need to see the physical manifestation of the miracle before she took action. She believed in Jesus' ability to heal her, and her faith led her to act on that belief. As soon as she touched His garment, the power of God flowed through her and she was healed. What's incredible about this story is that Jesus didn't say, "Your healing has come because of your great works." No, he said, "Your faith has made you well." It wasn't her circumstances that determined her healing. It wasn't the doctor's diagnosis or the number of years she had been suffering. It was her faith that positioned her to receive the miracle that God had already prepared for her. Just like the woman with the issue of blood, you too must activate your faith to see the breakthrough you're believing for. It may not make sense to others. It may even feel risky or uncertain. But when you step out in faith, you are aligning yourself with God's will for your life. Faith says, "I believe in the impossible. I trust that God is already working, even when I don't see it." You may be waiting for a change in your health, your finances, or your relationships. You might be facing a situation that seems insurmountable. The question is, do you believe that God is already at work in that situation? Do you trust that He is moving behind the scenes, orchestrating everything for your good? If your answer is yes, then your faith has already positioned you for the miracle. The moment you step out and believe in the unseen, you are preparing yourself to receive God's best. Faith is not about waiting for the perfect circumstances to line up before you take action. It's about trusting God even when things don't make sense. It's about declaring, "I believe in the unseen, in the impossible, and in the power of God to move on my behalf." That belief, that trust, is what will bring the miracle into your life. So stand firm, believe, and keep your faith active. When you do, you will begin to see that God is already moving, and He is about to deliver the miracle you've been waiting for. Signs are not simply random events or coincidences. They are divine signals, crafted by God Himself, pointing towards something greater that is about to unfold in your life. We often overlook the signs because they don't always come in the form we expect. But when you pay attention, you begin to realize that signs are much more than just fleeting moments. They are messages, divine indicators, and markers placed strategically to direct you toward what God is about to do in your life. A sign is a prelude to change, a prophetic whisper that a new season is approaching. Think about the last time you saw a road sign. Perhaps you were driving and noticed a sign that said, "Next exit 5 miles." That sign wasn't random. It was there to guide you to your destination. It was strategically placed to direct you, to tell you that a shift was coming, that something was ahead of you. Signs work the same way in our lives. They are indicators that something significant is on the horizon. A sign isn't the event itself. It's a promise of the event to come. It's like a billboard placed on the side of the road to catch your attention and point you in the right direction. It marks the beginning of a new season in your life. God doesn't leave us in the dark when He's preparing to move. Instead, He gives us signs, small, subtle, and sometimes even dramatic, that signal the change that is on the way. These signs may appear in various forms: a new opportunity, an unexpected breakthrough, a shift in relationships, or even a change in your own heart and mindset. They are not random occurrences. They are part of God's divine orchestration, positioning you for what He has next. However, recognizing these signs requires you to adjust your perception. You must begin to look at your life through a different lens. When you see something unusual or unexpected happen, your first thought might be to dismiss it as coincidence or to be confused by it. But signs are not meant to be ignored. They are wake-up calls, calling you to attention. They are invitations to open your eyes, to pay attention, and to recognize that God is already at work. One of the most important things you can do when you encounter a sign from God is to adjust your mind, your attitude, and your expectations. Many times, God will send us signs that challenge the way we've been thinking. These signs may not always fit into the box we've created for our lives. They may not come in the way we expect, but they are always designed to prepare us for what's next. For example, you may find yourself in a situation that feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar, yet this could be God's way of getting your attention, of shifting you out of your comfort zone and into the new season He has planned for you. Think of the Israelites as they wandered in the wilderness. Every step they took was marked by signs from God, whether it was the pillar of fire by night or the cloud by day. These were not mere coincidences. They were divine signs that led them toward the promised land. Each sign they encountered was a reminder that God was with them, guiding them toward a future filled with promise. Yet many times they missed these signs or misunderstood them. They were so focused on their immediate discomforts that they failed to see the bigger picture. Similarly, in your life, God is sending signs, sometimes quietly, sometimes boldly, that are meant to alert you to the fact that a shift is coming. These signs are not meant to confuse you, but to prepare you for the new thing God is about to do. He's already working behind the scenes, aligning the pieces of your future. Your job is to pay attention and respond accordingly. The way you respond to the signs will determine how ready you are for the change. When you recognize the signs, it's time to adjust your attitude. You must shift your thinking from one of doubt or uncertainty to one of expectancy. Signs are not meant to instill fear or anxiety, but to ignite hope and anticipation. They are God's way of saying, "Get ready, I'm about to do something great in your life." In addition to adjusting your mindset, signs also called for a shift in your expectations. Often we limit God by expecting Him to move in ways that we can understand or anticipate. But God is bigger than our expectations. He will often move in ways that are unexpected, surprising, and beyond anything we could imagine. The signs you see are not meant to tell you exactly how God will work, but to let you know that He is at work, that change is coming, and that it is going to be far greater than you could have ever expected. When you begin to recognize the signs and adjust your thinking, you position yourself for the change that is on the horizon. But more than that, you open the door for God to do something new in your life. When God is about to move, He gives you the grace to see what others might miss. Signs are not just for your future, they are part of the journey that prepares you for the future. Every sign you encounter is an invitation to get ready, to align yourself with what God is about to do. So as you begin to notice the signs in your life, take a moment to reflect on what they mean. Ask yourself, what is God trying to show me? What is He preparing me for? Don't ignore the signs or let them pass you by. Pay attention to the divine signals God is sending you and let them guide you to the next season of your life. Change is coming, and the signs are here to lead you into it. In the midst of your current challenges, it's easy to become consumed by what you see in front of you. The bills that are piling up, the relational struggles, the health issues, or the doubts that cloud your mind. They can feel overwhelming. And in those moments, it's tempting to believe that your circumstances define you, that your present situation is all there is. But I'm here to remind you today, your destiny is bigger than your circumstance. God is not limited by what you are facing right now. In fact, what you are seeing in the natural is nothing compared to what God has already prepared for you. God is not confined by the walls of your present reality. His plans for your life are not determined by the challenges you are experiencing. No matter how insurmountable the obstacles may seem, they do not define your future. Your destiny has already been established by God, and it is much greater than what you see in front of you. The sign you're receiving today is a divine reminder that the purpose and potential God has placed inside of you far exceed anything your eyes can currently perceive. In moments of struggle, it's natural to feel limited by the circumstances surrounding us. When the weight of life presses down on you, it can be hard to imagine that there is anything greater waiting on the other side. But let me remind you, your destiny is not dictated by your circumstances. It is determined by the purpose God has placed on your life. The challenges you face are just temporary. They are part of the process, not the end of the story. What God has planned for you is far greater than what you're experiencing right now. Think about the great leaders in Scripture, people like David, Joseph, and Esther. These were individuals who faced unimaginable challenges, and yet in each of their stories, God's plan for them was far greater than their circumstances. David was a shepherd boy who was overlooked by his family and lived in obscurity. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and falsely imprisoned. Esther was a young orphan who was thrust into a position of influence in a foreign land. Yet, in each of their lives, their circumstances did not define their future. God had a plan for them that was bigger than anything their eyes could see. David's destiny was not to remain a shepherd in a field. Joseph's destiny was not to remain a slave in Egypt. Esther's destiny was not to remain an orphan with no influence. Despite their circumstances, God had a purpose for their lives that far exceeded the limitations they were facing at the time. In the same way, your present situation is not the final word on your future. Whatever you are facing today is just a moment in the larger story that God is writing for you. One of the most powerful truths you can hold on to is that God does not see you as your circumstances see you. While you may look at your situation and feel insignificant or powerless, God looks at you and sees your potential, your purpose, and your destiny. He sees the greatness within you, even when you can't see it yourself. Your value is not determined by your circumstances, but by the calling God has placed on your life. And that calling is not limited by what you are going through right now. In fact, sometimes the very struggles you face are the preparation for the greatness God has in store for you. When God places a dream in your heart, it is never based on your current abilities or resources. God's vision for your life will always be bigger than what you can accomplish on your own. If you could do it all by yourself, it wouldn't require God's intervention. But when you look at your circumstances and wonder how anything good can come from them, that's when you begin to realize that your destiny is truly in the hands of a bigger plan. God specializes in taking people through difficult situations to get them to a place where only He can get the glory. The sign you're receiving today is an invitation to step out of the limitations of your current situation and step into the reality of what God has prepared for you. It's a call to remember that your circumstances do not determine your future. Your purpose is bigger than your pain, your setbacks, and your struggles. What God has prepared for you is far greater than anything your present reality could ever suggest. When you understand this, you begin to approach life differently. You begin to see your challenges as opportunities for God to show His power. You stop defining yourself by your current situation and start defining yourself by the purpose God has placed inside of you. The greatness that you are destined for is not bound by your current limitations. Instead, it is an invitation to trust God, to believe in the potential He has placed inside of you, and to walk in the fullness of your destiny. So no matter where you are today, no matter what challenges you're facing, know this: your destiny is greater than your circumstances. The sign you are receiving today is a reminder that God's plan for your life has already been set in motion, and no situation, no obstacle, no setback can stop it. Your purpose is greater than what you can see in this moment, and God is about to move in ways that will make you look back and realize that the struggles you faced were just stepping stones to your destiny. You are not defined by what you are going through right now. You are defined by the purpose and potential God has placed inside of you. And that purpose is greater than anything you are currently experiencing. As you stand on the verge of God's next move in your life, it's essential to recognize that preparation is a critical part of receiving what He has in store for you. Preparation is key to receiving God's move because while we may be eagerly waiting for the breakthrough, we must also ensure that we are spiritually, emotionally, and mentally ready for the new season He is about to bring. Too often we expect God to bless us with something new, but we fail to realize that those blessings and breakthroughs require us to be prepared to handle them at a deeper level. God's blessings are not just about receiving something material or tangible. They're also about stepping into a new dimension of purpose, responsibility, and influence. Think about it. If God were to move and elevate you to a new level, would you be ready to steward that elevation? Are you spiritually grounded, emotionally stable, and mentally prepared to handle the increased responsibility that comes with the blessing? Preparation is not a passive process. It is an active one that requires your participation. You must intentionally position yourself to receive what God is about to release into your life. Spiritually, this means strengthening your relationship with God. In times of waiting, we can often become distracted or discouraged. But the key to preparation lies in staying connected to the source. Prayer, worship, and seeking His word are the spiritual practices that keep you aligned with God's will for your life. When you are spiritually prepared, you can hear God's voice more clearly, discern His direction, and trust in His timing. It's easy to get caught up in the anxiety of waiting for a breakthrough, but in these moments, you must focus on strengthening your foundation with God. Your spiritual readiness is essential to receiving the move God is about to make in your life. Emotionally, you must also prepare yourself. God's move may bring about changes that challenge you in ways you didn't anticipate. New opportunities may require you to step out of your comfort zone, and with that comes an emotional stretch. If you're not emotionally prepared, you might miss the opportunity because of fear, insecurity, or doubt. Emotional readiness involves cultivating resilience, peace, and patience. It's about being able to handle the ups and downs of life, trusting that no matter what you face, you can stand firm in the promises of God. It's also about learning to manage your emotions in a way that aligns with God's purpose for you. When God blesses you with a new level of influence or responsibility, you need to be emotionally stable enough to handle it without being overwhelmed by stress or anxiety. Mentally, preparation is also necessary. This means cultivating the mindset of someone who is ready to walk in the fullness of God's calling. A new season requires you to think differently. God may be preparing to elevate you, but you must elevate your thinking as well. If you think small, you will limit what God can do in your life. But if you have the mindset of a conqueror, of someone who believes in their God-given potential, you are preparing to take on greater responsibility and greater opportunities. This shift in thinking means being open to growth, learning new skills, and allowing God to stretch your understanding of what is possible. Mental preparation involves renewing your mind and allowing God to transform your thinking to align with His plans for you. Consider the story of David in the Bible. He was anointed to be king long before he was ever crowned. The anointing was there, but it was his preparation through years of tending sheep, facing challenges, and learning to trust God that shaped him into the man who could handle the responsibility of ruling Israel. David had to be spiritually prepared, emotionally strong, and mentally sharp in order to step into his destiny. If David had not spent those years in preparation, he would not have been able to carry the weight of the kingdom when the time came. Preparation is what separates those who are ready to handle their blessing from those who are not. Just like David, you too are in a season of preparation. God is working behind the scenes, shaping you spiritually, emotionally, and mentally for the move He is about to make in your life. It's easy to want the blessing without the process, but the process is what makes you ready. God's move in your life is not just about what He is going to give you, but about what He is making you into. Someone who is ready to steward the blessing, someone who can handle the responsibility, and someone who will glorify Him in the process. When you wait on God, do not be passive. Use this time of waiting to prepare yourself. Get spiritually rooted, emotionally strong, and mentally focused. Take steps now to build the foundation that will allow you to receive God's move when it comes. Know that every challenge you face in this preparation season is refining you, shaping you, and aligning you with the purpose God has for you. Your readiness is key to stepping into the future that God has prepared for you. God is always moving, always orchestrating things behind the scenes, but He is also preparing you to handle the new level that He is bringing into your life. Don't rush the process. Embrace the preparation. The more you prepare, the more you will be able to handle when God's move arrives. You are not just waiting for the blessing, you are being prepared to carry it with grace, wisdom, and strength. As you stand on the brink of a divine move, it's important to recognize that God is moving in ways you cannot predict. We have a tendency to try to box God into our limited understanding and expectations, wanting to define the way He will move in our lives. We often imagine that God will move in a specific, predictable pattern according to our own plans and desires. But the reality is that God's ways are far higher than our ways, and His thoughts are far beyond our comprehension. When you try to limit God to your own expectations, you rob yourself of the full experience of His miraculous, unlimited power. The truth is, God's methods of working in your life will often defy your logic. They won't always make sense at first, and they may not look like what you thought they would. But I want to encourage you today, don't let the unexpected discourage you. Sometimes, the signs you see leading up to God's move may not resemble the blueprint you've created in your mind. They may seem strange, confusing, or even challenging. Yet, even in these moments, trust that God is still at work. His ways are not your ways, and the signs that appear may look completely different than what you anticipated. However, these very signs are often the markers of greatness ahead. Think about the way God moved in the lives of the patriarchs, prophets, and leaders in Scripture. Take the example of the Israelites crossing the Red Sea. It didn't look like a logical move for God to part the waters at that moment. From a human perspective, there was no way out. The people were trapped between Pharaoh's army and the vast sea. Yet God's way, parting the waters, defied all human understanding and expectations. It was only through this miraculous, unexpected act that they were able to walk into their promised future. If the Israelites had tried to predict God's move, they would have never anticipated that the sea would part. And if they had resisted the unexpected, they might have missed the miracle altogether. Similarly, when God called Moses to lead his people out of Egypt, he didn't choose the path of least resistance. Moses was hesitant, doubting his own ability, and expecting God to act in a more conventional way. But God didn't work according to Moses' understanding of how things should unfold. God's plan was far grander, more extraordinary, and beyond anything Moses could have imagined. He used an ordinary man with an imperfect background and a stutter to lead an entire nation to freedom. And he did it in a way that completely defied human logic. This same principle applies to your life today. The signs you see may not make sense in the moment, but they are part of a greater plan. God's move in your life will not always follow the path you've laid out in your mind. In fact, it's often in the most unexpected ways that God reveals his glory and power. The job you thought you'd get may not come, but a better opportunity could be on the horizon. The relationship you thought would last may end, but that may be God's way of making room for something even more fulfilling and aligned with his purpose for you. We must stop trying to define God's move based on our limited understanding. Our human perspective is finite and constricted, but God sees the big picture. He knows the end from the beginning, and he is weaving together a story far beyond what you can predict. His ways are perfect and his timing is always right. The unexpected signs you encounter might be strange, even unsettling, but they are often a confirmation that God is up to something greater than you could have imagined. In fact, the unexpected is often a sign of God's greatness. When he moves in ways we didn't foresee, it's a testimony to his divine creativity and omniscience. Think about the early days of Jesus' ministry. People didn't expect the Savior of the world to come as a humble child born in a manger. They didn't expect the Messiah to walk the earth as a carpenter from Nazareth. Yet Jesus' entire life and ministry were a perfect example of God moving in ways no one could have predicted. His miracles, teachings, and sacrifices defied expectations, but they fulfilled God's purpose in ways no one could have fathomed. This is the same God you serve. His movement in your life may not look like what you expect, but it will always be for your good. Trust that God is working behind the scenes, preparing you for a future that is greater than anything you can imagine. Even when the signs you receive don't align with your plans, remember that God's plans are always better. He knows exactly what you need and when you need it, and his ways will always lead to your greatest good. Don't be afraid of the unexpected, embrace it, because that's often where God works most powerfully. Trust that the signs you see, though unfamiliar or surprising, are leading you to a greater purpose. God is moving in ways that are beyond your understanding, and in those unexpected moments, he is setting the stage for something amazing. When you surrender your own expectations and trust in God's plan, you'll find that his way, though unpredictable, will always be the best way. So today, release the need to control how God moves. Don't try to box him into your expectations. Instead, trust him to move in ways you can't predict, knowing that his ways are always higher than yours and always leading you to something greater. Embrace the signs, even when they don't make sense, and trust that God's plan will always exceed your own. In conclusion, I want you to understand this powerful truth. God is on the move in your life right now. He is about to shift things in ways you cannot imagine, and the signs you're seeing are divine indicators of his greatness. But as you stand in the anticipation of what's to come, remember that God's timing is always perfect, and his ways are beyond our understanding. We must not box him into our limited perspectives or expectations, for he is working in ways that transcend our comprehension. His plans for you are far greater than your current circumstances or what you can currently see. Know that faith is the key to activating the miracles that are on the way. Your faith positions you to receive what God has already prepared for you. And in the midst of waiting, preparation is essential. God is not just getting ready to bless you with something new. He is preparing you spiritually, emotionally, and mentally to handle the greatness He's about to release into your life. Remember this. The signs you are seeing are not coincidences. They are divine signals pointing to the greater purpose that God is unveiling in your life. But understand, it may not come in the package you expect. God is moving in ways you cannot predict, but trust that the unexpected is often where His greatest work is done. He is shaping you, refining you, and positioning you for the greatest breakthrough of your life. So, I challenge you today to rise above the limitations of your current situation, to embrace the signs that God is showing you, and to walk confidently in the knowledge that your destiny is not tied to your circumstances. You are destined for greatness, and God is about to move in a way that will reveal that greatness in ways you never imagined. Prepare yourself, trust the process, and know that God's move is imminent. The future ahead is filled with divine opportunities, and your time is now. This is your sign. God is about to move.